The boy who could rewrite the stars. In a small village resting between two gentle mountains, a boy named Evan lived with his grandmother. The village was peaceful, filled with dusty roads, tiny houses, and trees that whispered every time the wind passed. Evan was 12 years old, thin as a branch, quiet as a shadow, and always staring at the sky. While other children played in the fields, Evan spent his evenings lying on the grass, watching the stars come out like sparks escaping from the darkness. He did not know why the stars made him feel connected to something far away, but he felt it every night, a strange pull, a soft calling, as if the sky was trying to speak to him. His grandmother often said he was born during a meteor shower, and maybe that was why he felt that strange bond with the night sky. Evan was not like the other children. He was curious and thoughtful, always asking questions no one could answer. Why do stars shine? Why do they move? Why do they disappear sometimes? His grandmother would smile and tell him that some questions belong to the sky alone. But deep inside, Evan believed one day he would get the answers himself. He felt something inside him, something quietly waiting to wake up. Something unusual. Something powerful. He just didn't know what it was. One evening, when the village lights went out early and the sky was clear like polished glass, Evan walked alone to the hill behind his house. He carried a small notebook where he kept drawings of constellations he made himself. When he reached the hilltop, he sat down, looking at the stars like one looks at old friends. Then, something strange happened. One of the stars in the sky flickered, as if blinking at him. Then it moved, just slightly, like a nod. Evan blinked. Stars did not move like that. They did not nod. They did not flicker in patterns. He thought he imagined it. But then it happened again. A tiny dot of light shifted, and suddenly a streak of silver light fell from the sky, landing in the grass a few meters away. Evan jumped in fear and excitement. He slowly approached the glowing patch of ground, expecting fire or smoke, but instead he found a small, star-shaped stone, warm to the touch, glowing softly. When he picked it up, he felt a tingling sensation rush through his fingers, up his arm, and into his chest. The air around him shimmered as if the night itself was breathing. Evan dropped the stone in shock, but then something unbelievable happened. The star in the sky, the one that flickered, moved again. And this time, it moved exactly the way Evan's heartbeat felt. Slow. Then faster. Then slow again. As if the star was connected to him. Evan picked up the stone again, and the star steadied, glowing brighter than the others. His hands shook. He whispered, "What are you?" The moment he spoke, the stone pulsed with light. It felt alive. Evan went home with the glowing star stone wrapped inside his old scarf. He hid it under his bed, unable to sleep. His mind was racing. He felt like something enormous had entered his life, something too big for a boy like him. But deep down, he felt no fear. Only wonder. Late that night, while his grandmother slept, Evan pulled out the stone again. The glow was softer now, steady like a candle flame. He held it in his hands, wondering what it could do. Then he noticed something strange. The constellations he drew in his notebook seemed to shift slightly, like the ink was alive. One star in the drawing of the lion's mane constellation glowed faintly. Evan touched that glowing dot with the star stone in his hand. The stone pulsed, and at that same moment, outside the window, a star moved a tiny bit in the sky. Evan gasped. He touched another drawn star, and again the matching star in the sky shifted. Very slightly. Almost impossible to notice, unless someone was specifically watching for it. Evan stared at his notebook, his heart pounding. He tried something bigger. Slowly, nervously, he dragged the glowing dot in his drawing just a little bit to the left. And in the sky, the real star obeyed. The star moved. Evan dropped the notebook in shock. His breath trembled. His hands shook. He had just done something impossible. Something only gods, myths, or ancient beings could do. He could rewrite the stars. The next evening, the sky felt heavier. The air felt colder. Even the trees were silent. Evan sat on the hill again, clutching the starstone. He wondered if anyone else knew what he had done. Or if the stars themselves felt the change. He did not have to wonder for long. A sudden gust of wind blew across the hill, swirling dust into the air. The sky above him darkened slightly, not from clouds, but from something like a shadow passing over the stars. Then a figure appeared in front of him, made of shimmering light. It was tall, glowing faintly like the moon reflected on water. Its eyes were bright white, and its voice sounded like several voices speaking together. Child of Earth, the figure said, you have touched what was never meant to be touched. Evan froze, unable to move or breathe. Who are you? I am Aristus, guardian of the star paths, the figure replied. The order of the sky is my duty to protect. And you, boy, you have changed the ancient pattern.
Evan swallowed. I didn't mean to.
I didn't know what I was doing.
The guardian lowered its glowing head.
Yet you did it.
No human has ever moved a star. Not for thousands of years.
You hold something powerful, something lost.
Evan clenched the starstone.
What is this? That, Aristus said slowly, is a fragment of the astral core, the heart of the oldest constellation.
It is not meant for mortals.
But it has chosen you. Evan looked down at the stone glowing in his small hands. Why me? Because, the guardian said, you carry a spark inside you. The spark of a starwriter.
Evan had never heard the word before.
What's a starwriter? The guardian lifted its hand. The sky shimmered, revealing shapes, tall ancient beings drawing streaks of light, moving planets like beads, shaping constellations with gestures.
They looked both human and celestial.
Long before humans learned to speak, Aristus explained, the starwriters shaped the sky.
They guided destiny through the stars.
But they vanished, leaving only fragments like the stone you carry.
Evan stared in awe. But I'm just a boy. I don't know how to do any of that.
You will, Aristus said. But the power you carry is dangerous. If misused, it can break the balance of the universe. The stars are threads of fate, moving one changes the lives beneath it. Evan remembered the small movement he made in the constellation.
Had he changed something? Had he affected someone's destiny without knowing? He felt fear rise inside him.
I didn't mean to harm anyone, he whispered.
I know, the guardian said. But others will not care.
The astral core's power is wanted by many, some who would use it to control the sky, and through it, the world. Evan tightened his grip on the stone. You mean someone will come after me?
Yes, Aristus said. And soon.
Before Evan could ask more, the guardian suddenly looked toward the mountains. Its shape flickered. They are already searching. Evan's heart slammed in his chest. Who? The ones who destroyed the last starwriters, Aristus said. The Shadowborn. The wind grew colder. The night darkened around them. Evan could feel eyes watching him from the shadows of the trees. Aristus placed one glowing hand on Evan's shoulder. You must learn to use your gift.
And you must be careful.
The stars will answer you, but so will the darkness. Evan swallowed hard, nodding. The guardian began to fade. I will return when the sky allows. Until then, protect the stone.
And trust your heart.
And with a swirl of light, Aristus vanished. Evan stood alone on the hill, clutching the starstone, staring at the sky that now seemed much larger, stranger, and far more dangerous.
He had the power to rewrite the stars.
But now, others knew it too. That night, Evan could not sleep. He kept turning the starstone in his hand, watching its soft glow light the shadows of his room. The guardian's words echoed in his mind. The Shadowborn were searching for him. The stars could be changed. His notebook drawings could move the sky. None of it felt real, yet all of it carried the weight of a universe he had never imagined. Just before dawn, he drifted into a restless sleep and slipped into a strange dream. He saw himself standing in a vast dark space, an endless sky with floating silver threads that pulsed like living veins. When he looked closer, he realized the threads were constellations. They stretched from horizon to horizon, weaving patterns that glowed softly. Each thread hummed with something like music, soft, gentle, beautiful. Then the sky trembled. One of the threads snapped apart, the light turning black as ink. A shadow spread along it like poison, creeping across the sky. Evan tried to fix the thread, but when he touched it, the shadow coiled around his fingers like smoke.
He felt cold. Terribly cold.
A voice whispered behind him. This is what happens when the stars are changed without balance. Evan turned and saw Aristus, glowing faintly. The guardian looked weaker in the dream, as if the darkness was draining its light. Evan tried to speak, but no sound came. The shadows spread faster now, devouring constellation after constellation. The sky dimmed, and the ground beneath Evan cracked, opening into a dark void.
Then the shadow rose like a tall figure made of smoke and teeth.
Red, ember-like eyes opened within it. They stared directly at Evan. Child of the core, you will be ours. The shadow reached toward him. Evan jerked awake, gasping, drenched in sweat.
The sun was just rising outside. His grandmother knocked softly on the door. "Evan? Are you all right?" He took a shaky breath.
"Yes, Grandma, just a dream."
But deep down, he knew it was more than a dream.
The Shadowborn were close. The next day, Evan walked through the village trying to act normal, but every sound felt sharper, every shadow deeper. The villagers greeted him kindly, but he felt a strange tension in the air, as if something unseen had moved into the space between houses. He saw Mr. Torren, the village baker, standing in front of his shop, staring at the sky with a confused expression.
"Never seen the stars shift like that before," the man muttered.
Last night's patterns were wrong.
Evan felt a sting in his stomach.
Had his small changes already been noticed?
Two shepherds whispered near the well. "The northern lights flickered last night."
"There are no northern lights here."
"And yet we saw them."
Evan's heartbeat grew louder. He walked faster, clutching the starstone in his pocket. The world had changed, because of him. Even small alterations in the constellations had rippled through nature. He reached the hill where he had found the stone. It looked peaceful, warm sunlight shining on the grass, but the peacefulness felt fake, like a painted picture hiding a storm behind it.
He sat down, pulling out his notebook.
The constellation he had moved yesterday was still shifted in the drawing, and now it glowed faintly, almost as if it were alive.
Evan reached out and touched the page lightly. The glow strengthened.
The wind suddenly picked up, swirling around him in a tight spiral. The hairs on his arms rose.
The stone in his pocket vibrated.
Then he heard a whisper.
Not from a person.
From the stars. A soft, distant voice saying his name. Ivan. He jumped up, terrified. He looked around, but no one was there. But the voice came again, softer this time, like a fading echo drifting from the sky. Evan. Evan backed away slowly, his breath shaking.
He was not imagining it.
The stars were calling him that evening, clouds gathered thick and heavy, though the forecast had promised clear weather. The air felt too still, too cold. Evan stayed close to his grandmother as she chopped vegetables for dinner. "Storm's coming," she said. "Strange, didn't expect one today."
Evan nodded.
"Maybe the weather changed suddenly."
His grandmother frowned. "It's more than that.
The animals acted strange today.
The birds flew low. The cows wouldn't leave the barn.
Even the dogs barked at empty corners."
Evan felt a chill.
"Maybe it's nothing." His grandmother looked at him closely, as if she sensed something was wrong, but she didn't ask.
She trusted him. After dinner, Evan went to his room. As he opened the door, he froze. The window was open. He was sure he had closed it in the morning.
Cold wind swept in, and the room felt unnaturally dark, even with the lantern lit.
Evan slowly stepped inside. That was when he saw it.
A long, thin shadow stretched across the floor, but there was nothing in the room that could cast such a shadow.
It pulsed slightly, like it was breathing.
Evan backed away, fear rising in his chest.
The shadow moved.
Not like light bending, but like a creature crawling. Suddenly, the shadow lifted from the floor, forming the shape of a twisted creature with long fingers and glowing red eyes.
Evan stumbled back. His voice broke.
"And no." The creature hissed, its voice like smoke. "Child of the core, we smell your light."
It reached toward him. Evan grabbed the starstone.
The moment he touched it, the stone burst into bright silver light. The shadow creature shrieked and recoiled, its form melting like tar. It hissed, "We will return." Then it vanished, dissolving into black dust that drifted out the window. Evan collapsed on the floor, shaking.
The Shadowborn had found him.
And they were not afraid to enter his home. That night, Evan sat on his bed with the starstone pressed against his chest. He wanted to cry, but he felt something stronger than fear, responsibility. Whatever this power was, he could not ignore it or hide from it anymore. At midnight, the stone warmed in his hand. The ceiling of his room shimmered, and dots of light appeared, tiny stars scattered across the surface like a floating map. Evan stared up as lines connected the stars into shapes.
It formed a constellation he had never seen before.
Then symbols appeared, glowing softly. Evan didn't know how to read them, yet somehow, he understood.
A warning. A path. A choice.
The stars shifted again, showing a vision of a distant mountain, tall, sharp, covered in snow. A temple carved into its side glowed with blue light. Then the message came, clear as a whisper. Find the celestial temple before the Shadowborn find you. There you will learn to rewrite safely. The stars faded slowly until the ceiling was normal again. Evan held the stone tightly. The celestial temple. He had never heard of it. But he knew what he had to do. He had to leave the village. And he had to leave soon. The next morning, Evan packed a small bag. He moved quietly, careful not to wake his grandmother. He hated the idea of leaving her without explanation, but he knew if he told her the truth, it would only put her in danger. The Shadowborn had entered his room. What if next time they targeted his grandmother? He couldn't risk it. He stood by her door for a long moment, listening to her soft breathing. She had raised him since he was a toddler, had given him everything she could despite having so little. Leaving her felt like breaking a part of himself. He placed a note on the table. Grandma, I'm safe. I have to go for a while.
I promise I'll come back. Evan. His hand trembled as he wrote it. He wished he could say more, but he knew he had to keep her away from the dangers that followed him now. He slipped out the back door just as the sun rose, painting the sky gold and pink. Evan took one last look at the village, the quiet houses, the familiar paths, the fields where he grew up. It felt smaller today, as if he had already stepped into a bigger world. He clutched the starstone and whispered, I'll come back. I promise. Then he turned toward the distant mountains. Toward the celestial temple, the journey toward the mountains took Evan through the whispering forest, a place most villagers avoided. The trees there grew tall and close together, their thick leaves blocking much of the sunlight. The forest was known for its strange sounds, as if the wind spoke in voices. Evan walked slowly, gripping his bag with one hand and the starstone with the other. The forest felt alive, not just in the normal way, but as if it were watching him. Branches creaked overhead. Leaves rustled even though there was no wind. Shadows shifted on the ground in patterns that didn't match the trees above. Evan tried to stay calm. It's fine, he whispered to himself. Just a forest. But the forest didn't agree. A whisper drifted through the air, soft, barely audible. Ivan. Evan froze. The whisper came again. Child of the core. His heart thudded painfully. He slowly reached into his pocket and touched the starstone. The moment his fingers brushed it, the forest went silent. Completely silent. Not a single leaf moved. Not a single bird chirped. Then, from between the trees, a tall figure emerged. For a moment Evan thought it was Aristus, but this figure was human-shaped, yet not fully human. It wore a cloak made of feathers and leaves, and its eyes glowed faint green like moss in the dark. Evan stumbled backward. Who are you? The figure lifted a hand. Peace, young Starwriter. I am no enemy. Evan hesitated. You know what I am? The figure nodded. The forest told me of your arrival. I am Myra, guardian of these woods. I protect the paths between worlds. Evan swallowed. The Shadowborn, they're following me. Yes, Myra said softly, and they grow stronger each night. They search for the astral core fragment you carry. Evan tightened his grip on the stone. Do you know where the celestial temple is? Myra tilted her head. I do. And I can guide you, but the path is dangerous. Evan nodded. I don't have a choice. The guardian of the forest stepped closer and placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Her touch was cool but calming, like a breeze after a storm. Then stay close, Myra said. The forest changes for those who carry star power. Together, they walked deeper into the whispering forest. The forest grew darker as they traveled. Strange, glowing plants appeared beside the path, soft blue vines, mushrooms that flickered like fireflies, flowers that opened when Myra passed them, as if greeting her. But soon the path twisted and broke into multiple branches. Evan frowned. Which way do we go? Myra stretched out her fingers, touching the air as though feeling invisible threads. The forest is testing you. Testing me? Yes, she said. Those who walk toward the temple must pass the test of echoes. The forest will show you illusions, sounds, memories, fears. You must not follow them, or you will be lost forever. Evan felt fear prickling inside him. What do I do? Hold the stone, Myra said. Trust what is real. As they stepped forward, the forest changed. Fog rose from the ground. The trees shifted subtly, their shapes bending slightly as if alive. Evan heard something, first like a distant wind, then like a voice. At first, it was faint. Evan. He shook his head. Ignore it. Ignore it. But the voice grew clearer. Evan, help me. He froze. It was his grandmother's voice. Evan's heart squeezed painfully. Grandma. He turned toward the sound, but Myra grabbed his arm. No. Don't listen. But it's her. It is not. The forest uses your memories against you. The voice came again, desperate. Evan, please, help. Evan felt tears sting his eyes. It sounded so real. So close. What if she really needed him? The fog thickened. Shapes formed within it, shadowy figures that looked like familiar people. Evan saw the outline of his grandmother reaching out to him. He took a step forward. Myra pulled him back sharply. Evan. But. Hold the stone, she commanded. Evan pressed the starstone to his chest. Immediately, the light inside it brightened. The fog dissolved around him, pulling back like a frightened creature. The figures vanished. The voices faded. Myra watched him carefully. You are strong. Not many pass this test. Evan wiped his eyes. It felt real. The forest shows your deepest attachments, Myra said gently. It is meant to confuse your heart. Evan nodded, breathing shakily. Let's keep going. The test of echoes had ended, but the forest had more challenges ahead. After hours of walking, they reached a clearing. The trees formed a perfect circle around a small pond that reflected the sky like a mirror. But when Evan looked at the reflection, he noticed something wrong. The stars in the reflection were broken. Not the real stars, only the reflection. The constellations were shattered, scattered like broken glass. One star pulsed weakly, as though it were dying. Evan knelt beside the water. What is this? Myra stepped forward quietly. This is a wound in the sky's memory. The Shadowborn did this. Evan felt a sting of guilt. Was it because I moved that one star? No, Myra said. This happened long before you were born. The Shadowborn have been tearing the sky for centuries. They feed on broken constellations. Evan stared at the broken pattern. Can I fix it? Myra's eyes widened. You would try. I have to, he said softly. If I can rewrite stars, maybe I can heal them too. Myra stepped back. Be careful. Mending is harder than moving. Evan took out his notebook. The page with the same constellation appeared blank for a moment, then faint lines emerged, broken, scattered, matching the reflection. He placed the starstone on the page. It glowed. The pond rippled. Evan slowly began connecting the broken lines, restoring the constellation to its proper shape. His hands trembled, but he kept going, moving star by star. The air hummed. The reflection in the water glowed brighter. One by one, the pieces aligned. Then, a burst of light shot from the pond into the sky. Evan shielded his eyes. When he looked again, the reflection was whole. Myra stared at him with awe. You truly are a star writer. Evan panted softly. It worked. But then the wind shifted, carrying a cold, dark voice. A whisper slithered through the trees. You cannot hide. We see you. Myra tensed. The Shadowborn felt the healing. They are coming. Evan clutched the starstone. He had fixed one constellation. But now the darkness was closer than ever. The trees trembled as a cold wind swept through the clearing. Leaves shook violently, and the air grew heavy with a strange darkness. Evan felt the temperature drop instantly. Myra stepped in front of him. Stay behind me. The shadows between the trees thickened, swirling like ink in water. Evan could feel dozens of eyes watching them from the darkness. The whispers grew louder, angrier. He awakened the light. He mended the wound. He must be taken. Suddenly, one of the shadows lunged. Its shape twisted into a long, clawed creature with glowing red eyes. Myra lifted her staff and slammed it into the ground. A burst of green light shot through the clearing, forming a barrier around them. The creature hit the barrier and shrieked as the light burned its form. Evan stumbled back. There are so many. Myra's face was tense. They usually hide from this forest. But healing a constellation, it was like ringing a bell in the dark. Now they know exactly where you are. Another shadow slammed into the barrier. And another. Cracks of dark energy spread along the green light, weakening it. Myra grit her teeth. My strength alone won't hold them for long. Evan looked at the starstone. It pulsed, warm in his hand. What if I can help? Myra turned sharply. No. You're not ready. But if we don't do something, the barrier will break. As if to prove his words, another blow hit the barrier, causing it to flicker. Evan took a deep breath and lifted the starstone. The light inside swirled like a storm. He closed his eyes and imagined the sky, the constellations, the threads of light, the harmony he felt when mending the reflection. He imagined pushing that light outward, forming a new shield. Protecting them both. The stone responded. A wave of silver light surged from Evan's hands, pouring into Myra's barrier. The cracks sealed themselves, glowing bright. Myra gasped softly. Evan. The shadows recoiled from the expanding light, shrinking away like smoke. The forest brightened. And slowly, the whispers faded. The Shadowborn retreated. Once the last trace of darkness vanished, Myra lowered her staff and exhaled. You should not have been able to do that, not without training. Evan looked down at the stone. I didn't know if it would work. Myra studied him for a long moment. You are far more powerful than you realize. Evan swallowed. Is that good or bad? Her expression darkened. Both. When they continued their journey, the forest felt calmer, almost grateful. The trees seemed to shift aside for them, creating a clearer path. Animal eyes peeked from behind bushes, not fearful, but curious. As dusk approached, Myra stopped at a ridge overlooking a valley. There, she said, pointing. Far in the distance, past rolling hills and dark forests, stood a range of towering white mountains. Near the center, one peak glowed faint blue even in the fading light, like a star trapped in ice. The mountain? Evan asked. Myra shook her head. The celestial temple inside it. Evan stared, the sight filling him with awe and fear. It looks far. It is. Will the Shadowborn chase us the whole way? They will try. Myra paused. But the closer you get to the temple, the stronger your light will become. Evan held the stone tightly. Then I'll keep going. Myra gently touched his shoulder. You are brave, Evan. Braver than most adults I've met. Evan managed a small smile. I'm trying. They walked down the ridge, and the path grew narrow, winding between steep rocky walls. The sky darkened, revealing thousands of stars overhead. Evan paused. The stars weren't still. They shifted, ever so slightly, forming a new pattern. A curved line, then a shimmering arrow pointing toward the mountains. Myra noticed. They guide you. Evan nodded, feeling a quiet connection. The constellations were communicating with him. He whispered, "Thank you." That night, they set up camp near a stream. Myra lit a small fire with a touch of her fingers, and Evan sat across from her, warming his hands. He had so many questions swirling in his mind. Finally, he asked, "What is a starwriter, really?" Myra looked into the flames. Long ago, star energy flowed freely through the world. Certain people were born with the ability to shape it, light weavers, sky scribes, and starwriters. So they were, like me? Yes. People who could change constellations, heal sky wounds, and protect the balance between light and shadow. Evan hesitated. What happened to them? Myra's expression grew sad. The Shadowborn hunted them. One by one, they disappeared until none were left. For centuries, the sky had no guardian. Evan felt a chill. And now, they want to destroy me too. They want your power, Myra corrected. If they capture you, they can corrupt the star energy you carry. They could rewrite the sky into darkness. Evan stared at the fire, fear rising again. But why am I the only one left? Why me? Myra studied him with soft eyes. Because the stars chose you. Evan shook his head. But I'm just normal. I can barely talk in front of my class. I'm not brave or strong. I'm not a hero. Myra leaned forward. Heroes are not born. They are made by what they choose to face. You faced the forest. You mended a constellation. You stood against shadows. Those are the choices of a star writer. Evan felt warmth spread through him, part hope, part courage. Do you think I can really reach the celestial temple? Myra smiled slightly. I think you are the only one who can. As the fire crackled, Myra suddenly tensed. Her head snapped upward, eyes narrowing. What is it? Evan whispered. Something is watching us. Evan's heart dropped. Shadowborn? No, Myra said softly. Something worse. The air grew unbearably still. The fire flickered, bending as though pulled by an invisible force. Evan felt a crawling sensation behind him, like he was being hunted. Myra stood slowly, staff in hand. Stay behind me. From the darkness, a tall, gaunt figure stepped forward. Its body was entirely black, like walking smoke, but its eyes glowed bright white instead of red. Evan recognized it instantly. The creature from his dream. The one that called itself ours. A whisper slid through the night. Child of the core, you cannot run forever. Myra raised her staff. Begone, Abyss Hunter. He is under my protection. The creature tilted its head. Your forest is far behind you, Myra of the whispering trees. You have no power here. Myra's grip tightened. Evan whispered, what is it? A hunter, Myra breathed. A higher form of Shadowborn. It tracks star energy. It will not stop until it takes you. The hunter took a slow step forward. Evan backed away, trembling. The creature's voice oozed darkness. Come quietly, boy. Do not make this difficult. Evan clutched the starstone. It pulsed violently. The hunter hissed. Give it to us. Evan shook his head. No. The creature lunged. Myra leaped between them, slamming her staff down. A burst of light erupted from the ground, throwing the hunter backward. But it rose again, unhurt. Myra pushed Evan toward the trees. Run. Now. But. Run. Evan sprinted into the forest, heart pounding. Branches whipped at his face. His breath came in sharp gasps. He could hear the hunter's footsteps behind him, slow, steady, certain. The hunter wasn't chasing him. It was following him. Like a predator confident its prey had no escape. Evan stumbled, falling to his knees. The stone glowed fiercely in his hand, but he didn't know what to do. The hunter stepped into the clearing behind him. You cannot hide, little starwriter. Evan backed away. Leave me alone. The hunter raised its clawed hand. Evan squeezed the starstone and shut his eyes. The stone exploded with light. A beam shot upward, piercing the sky. The hunter screamed, stumbling back as its body cracked like broken glass. The light faded. And the hunter shrank into shadow, fleeing into the darkness. Evan sat trembling on the ground. He had survived. But barely. Night returned like a soft blanket, wrapping the world in silence. For the first time since Orin had discovered his strange gift, he did not feel nervous when he looked up at the sky. Instead, he felt a gentle excitement, as if the stars themselves were waiting for him to speak again. He sat on the rooftop of their small home, his legs dangling over the edge and the cool wind brushing against his face. Lyra sat beside him, hugging her knees and watching him more carefully than she watched the sky. Are you sure you want to try again? She asked softly. Orin nodded. The universe didn't punish me last time. And the Star Weaver said it was okay, as long as I didn't change people's destinies. Lyra breathed in, still worried. Just be careful. You can't fix everything with magic. Sometimes life is supposed to be hard. I know, Orin said, though a part of him believed he could make things better, at least a little. He raised his hand slowly. The stars trembled like tiny sparks responding to a silent song. Orin felt the familiar warm threads pulling at his fingertips. But this time, something unusual happened. A single star in the sky flickered not because of Orin, but on its own. It blinked once, dimmed, then brightened again vigorously, almost like a heartbeat. Orin lowered his hand. Did you see that? Lyra nodded. Yes. You didn't do that. No, Orin whispered. It moved on its own. The star flickered again, this time bursting outward with a faint shimmer that spread across the sky like ripples on water. Then Orin heard it. A voice, faint, distant, yet unmistakable. A whisper. Help. Orin froze. Lyra grabbed his hand. What happened? She asked. Orin swallowed, his heartbeat racing. The star, it spoke. Lyra blinked fast, confused. Stars don't talk. Orin shook his head. This one did. The whisper came again, a trembling echo carried by the wind and stardust. Help, please. Orin felt a tug inside his chest. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper, a calling. He stood up slowly and raised his hand toward the star. I hear you, he whispered back. The star flickered brightly, responding to his voice. Lyra watched him carefully. Orin, what is it saying? It's fading, Orin said quietly. It's trying not to disappear. Lyra gasped. But stars fade all the time. It's natural. Not this one, Orin murmured. It doesn't want to go. He stretched out his fingers, and the strands of the sky formed around him, swirling like threads of glowing silk. But these threads were different, heavier, harder to hold, as if something was resisting him. He gritted his teeth and pulled gently. Nothing happened. The star flickered again, weaker this time. Help. Orin's heart tightened. I'm trying. He pulled the threads again, using more focus this time. The sky trembled. A soft hum rose in the air. The world around him dimmed slightly, as if time itself was holding its breath. Lyra stepped forward, her voice shaking. Orin, it's too strong. Maybe you can't. But before she finished, a shock of light burst from Orin's hands. The threads tightened, and he felt the star's energy flow into him, hot, bright, desperate. Orin cried out in pain, stumbling backward as the world spun. Lyra caught him. Orin, stop. You're hurting yourself. He forced his eyes open. I can't stop. It's connected to me. The light pulsed harder, filling the sky with a blinding glow. Then it shattered into thousands of little sparks that floated downward like glowing snow. Orin collapsed to his knees, breathing heavily. Lyra shook him gently. Orin, are you okay? What happened? Orin looked up. The star that had called to him was no longer fading, it was burning brighter than ever, glowing with a golden hue no other star had. He smiled weakly. I saved it. Lyra's eyes widened. You restored a star? Orin nodded. It didn't want to die. It asked for help, and I listened. Lyra bit her lip. But Orin, what if saving it changed something else? What if it had a purpose in fading? Orin hesitated. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty passed through him. I don't know. The golden star pulsed once more, brighter than before, almost like a thank you. But as the light settled, Orin felt something strange. His fingertips tingled, and a faint line of glowing dust ran across his palm, forming an unfamiliar mark. A symbol. Lyra noticed it immediately. Orin, your hand. He stared at the glowing symbol, his heart pounding. I think, he whispered, saving that star awakened something new. He tried to close his fist, but the symbol stayed bright. Lyra looked up at the golden star, then back at him. What does it mean? Orin shook his head. I don't know. But deep inside, he felt a shift, a quiet warning. Saving a star was not supposed to be possible. And something, somewhere in the universe, had felt him do it. For the rest of the night, Orin could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the golden star glowing above him, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. And every time he looked at his hand, the strange symbol still shimmered faintly on his palm. By morning, the symbol had not disappeared. It looked almost carved into his skin, glowing like silver fire. Lyra examined it closely, her brows pulled tight with worry. It's not fading at all, she whispered. What if it's dangerous? Orin shook his head, though he didn't feel as confident as he sounded. I don't think it's dangerous. It feels warm. Like it's alive. Lyra sighed. That doesn't make me feel better. Orin stood and stretched his fingers. When he did, a tiny spark of dust drifted from his palm, floating like a grain of light before disappearing. It was beautiful, but also unsettling. We need answers, Lyra said firmly. Maybe the Star Weaver knows what this is. Orin nodded. You're right. Let's go. They walked through the quiet morning streets toward the hill where Orin had first met the Star Weaver. The sky was still a pale blue, but the golden star shined even in daylight, as bright as a tiny sun. That alone made Orin nervous. Stars shouldn't be visible during the day. When they reached the top of the hill, Orin called out softly, Star Weaver, are you here? For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air shimmered, bending like heat waves. Threads of silvery light formed in the shape of a tall figure. The Star Weaver appeared, her robes made of stardust, her eyes glowing with the calm wisdom of the cosmos. Orin, she said, her voice soft yet powerful. You should not have attempted to save that star. Orin swallowed hard. It asked for help. The Star Weaver looked at him with sadness. Some stars are meant to fade. Their dying light creates new worlds, new skies, new destinies. Orin felt guilt twist in his chest. I didn't know. I couldn't let it disappear. Lyra stepped forward protectively. He heard it calling. It wasn't natural. The Star Weaver hesitated. Her gaze moved to the golden star shining in the daylight. That star is not like the others. Orin's heart raced. What do you mean? It is one of the Skyborn, she explained gently. Ancient stars that contain living consciousness. They are guardians of the universe's balance. Lyra gasped. He saved a guardian? The Star Weaver nodded slowly. And in doing so, he changed its destiny and his own. She reached toward Orin's hand. When her fingers brushed the glowing symbol, the mark pulsed brightly. The Star Weaver drew back, her expression tightening. The Skyborn has given you its seal. Orin stared at his hand. What does that mean? It means, she said softly, that you are now connected to it. Your fates are tied. You carry a piece of its power and its burden. Orin's breath caught. A burden? The Star Weaver's voice lowered. A great change is coming. The universe felt your act. When a Skyborn should fade but remains alive, a balance is broken. Others will feel this shift. Lyra frowned. Others? Other beings, the Star Weaver said darkly. Some who protect the stars, and others who hunger for their power. Orin felt a chill run through him. Are they coming here? The Star Weaver nodded slowly. They will follow the mark. They will follow you. Lyra moved closer to Orin instantly, grabbing his arm. No. He didn't do anything wrong. The Star Weaver looked at her kindly. Your brother's heart is pure. But the universe does not judge by intention, only by consequence. Orin felt the weight of her words settle like a stone on his shoulders. So what do I do? You must learn, the Star Weaver said. Learn to control the mark. Learn what the Skyborn has given you. And prepare for what is coming. Orin glanced up at the golden star. It pulsed again, softly, almost apologetically. Will it help me? He asked. The Star Weaver's voice grew distant, almost uncertain. It will try. But even a Skyborn has limits. And what awakens now is older than the stars. Orin swallowed hard. How much time do we have? The Star Weaver vanished the moment she answered. Not enough. The wind blew across the hill, leaving Orin and Lyra standing alone, more frightened than ever before. Orin and Lyra walked home in silence, their minds heavy with the Star Weaver's warning. Every step felt slower, as if the world itself had grown heavier around them. Even the air felt different, colder, sharper, filled with a strange tension. When they reached the house, Lyra closed the door quickly and leaned against it, breathing out shakily. Orin, this is serious. You can't go outside alone anymore. Orin looked down at his glowing palm. The symbol pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. I didn't mean to cause trouble, he whispered. Lyra softened, stepping closer and placing a hand on his shoulder. I know you didn't. But we have to think. We have to be careful. Orin nodded, though fear twisted inside him like a knot. He wondered what kind of beings the Star Weaver meant. What kind of creatures chased the power of stars? Before he could ask, the ground trembled. Just slightly, but enough for the plates on the shelf to rattle. Lyra's eyes widened. What was that? Orin didn't answer. His heart was pounding too loudly. The trembling stopped as quickly as it had come. Lyra peeked through the window. Everything looks normal outside. But Orin wasn't convinced. He felt something, a pull, a prickling on the back of his neck. The same feeling he had when he saved the golden star. Only colder. Much colder. That night, Orin didn't sleep again. He sat on his bed and stared at the mark on his hand, which glowed softly in the darkness. Lyra slept lightly, waking every now and then to make sure he was still there. The house was silent. The world was silent. But the sky was not. Orin felt the presence before he saw it, a strange, creeping coldness that seeped through the cracks of the room like smoke. His breath turned white in the air. Lyra, he whispered urgently. Wake up. Lyra sat up instantly. What's wrong? Orin didn't answer. He pointed toward the window. Outside, the night sky was shifting. Not the stars, the darkness. It moved like ink spreading across water, swallowing starlight as it stretched. Lyra gasped. What is that? Orin's voice trembled. I think something is looking for me. The darkness thickened and formed a shape long, sharp, and unnatural. It wasn't a creature. Not fully. It was like a shadow given life, stretching across the sky like a giant reaching hand. And then it spoke. Not with a voice. But inside Orin's mind. A whisper colder than winter. Skyborn, where are you? Orin stumbled backward, clutching his head. Lyra grabbed him, terrified. Orin, what is it saying? He forced the words out. It's looking for the golden star. And it can feel me. The whisper grew louder. I smell your light. Lyra pulled Orin away from the window. We need to hide. But Orin shook his head. No. Hiding won't work. It's not looking for my body, it's looking for the power in my hand. The symbol on his palm flared brightly, glowing like a tiny moon. The room filled with a soft silver light. Outside, the shadow froze. Then it turned. Slowly. Directly toward Orin. Lyra's voice cracked. It sees you. The shadow drifted closer, gliding across the sky without moving any part of its body. It was a living darkness, a creature made of every star that had died long before Orin was born. It pressed against the window, stretching like smoke against the glass. Orin felt its hunger. Give me, the Skyborn, the voice hissed inside his head. Orin backed away, shaking, his heart racing so fast it hurt. I don't have it. I just saved it. The shadow didn't seem to care. Lyra grabbed Orin's arm, trying to pull him toward the door. We have to run. But the moment she touched him, a powerful light burst from Orin's hand. So bright it lit up the entire room. So strong the shadow recoiled instantly, shrinking away from the window as if burned. Orin cried out, not from pain but from shock. The light erupted without his control, flashing through the house like a star exploding. Lyra shielded her eyes. Orin, what's happening? Orin clutched his glowing hand. The symbol on his palm was no longer a soft silver. It was blazing. Alive. The shadow screamed a terrible, silent scream that shook the house and retreated into the sky, melting back into the darkness from which it came. The light faded. The room grew quiet again. Lyra stared at Orin, trembling. Orin, you just drove it away. Orin sank to the floor, panting. I didn't mean to. The mark protected itself. Lyra knelt beside him. What was that thing? Orin swallowed hard. Something ancient. The Star Weaver warned me. Lyra nodded slowly. Then we need to find her again. Orin shook his head. No. We need more than knowledge now. He looked toward the window, where the shadow had vanished. They know I exist now, he whispered. And they won't stop. Lyra took his hand gently, despite its faint glow. Then we'll face them together. Orin looked at her, scared, but grateful. I don't want you to get hurt. Lyra squeezed his hand. I'm your sister. I'm not leaving. Orin felt a spark of courage inside him, small but steady. Because something else had changed too. For the first time, he realized the truth. This wasn't just about a boy who could rewrite the stars. It was about a universe that was beginning to rewrite him. The next morning, the world felt different. The sunlight still poured through the window, warm and familiar, but Orin didn't feel the comforting peace he used to feel. He felt watched, not by people, not by animals, but by the sky itself. Lyra packed a small bag with water, bread, and a warm scarf. She moved quickly, her hands shaking a little. "Where are we even going?" Orin asked, sitting at the edge of the bed. Lyra didn't pause. "Somewhere safer. Somewhere far from shadows." Orin looked at his glowing hand. The mark was dimmer now, but it still pulsed with a faint light, steady, alive, and impossible to hide. "What if there is no safe place?" he asked quietly. Lyra stopped packing and turned to him, her eyes soft. "Then we'll make one. But we can't stay here." Orin nodded reluctantly. "What about the Star Weaver?" Lyra bit her lip. "She appears when she wants to. Not when we call." Orin knew she was right. The Star Weaver had already done more than expected, she warned them. Now the rest was up to him. As they stepped outside, the golden star glowed faintly in the daytime sky, following him like a small sun. It made Orin uneasy, because it meant the Skyborn's energy was still connected to him. Or maybe watching him. The village was quiet. People went about their day normally, unaware that something ancient and hungry had swept across the sky the night before. Lyra kept her hood up and held Orin's hand tightly. "Keep walking," she whispered. They left the village behind and followed a dirt path that led into the forest. The trees formed a soft canopy above them, and sunlight flickered gently through the leaves. For a moment, Orin felt calm. But it didn't last. As they walked deeper into the forest, Orin felt a strange pressure building in the air like the moment before a storm. The birds stopped singing. The wind slowed. "Lyra," Orin whispered. She looked back at him, noticing the worry in his eyes. "What is it?" Orin pointed upward. "The sky, it's dimming." Lyra glanced up. The bright morning sunlight was fading, turning dull as if something was covering it from above. A shiver ran through Orin's spine. "It's happening again," he whispered. Lyra stepped in front of him protectively. "Stay close to me." Suddenly, the trees around them swayed, not from the wind, but from something moving between them. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground. Orin backed up, his heart racing. "It's not the shadow from last night. This is something else." A dark shape emerged from the trees. 2 shapes. 3. Not shadows, but figures. Tall, thin, and made of something like starless smoke. Their faces were smooth, their eyes empty, glowing dimly like dying embers. Lyra gasped. "Orin, what are those?" Orin felt the knowledge come to him, carried by the Skyborn's mark on his hand. "Star hunters," he whispered. "Beings who feed on fading stars." They must have sensed the Skyborn's energy. The tallest figure stepped forward, its voice a deep, cold echo. "Child of the Skyborn, surrender." Orin stumbled back. "I don't have its power. I just saved it." The creature tilted its head, its eyes narrowing into thin slits of light. "That is why you must fall." Orin's palms tingled. The symbol on his hand began to glow again, brighter than before. Lyra stepped in front of him, her voice steady despite her fear. "No. You can't have him." The creature raised a long, shadowy arm. Orin grabbed Lyra and pulled her back just as a wave of cold energy blasted toward them. It struck a tree, turning its bark black as ash. Orin's breathing grew sharp. "I can't fight them. I don't know how." Lyra held his shoulders firmly. "You don't need to know how. You have power. Trust it. But if I use it wrong, then we fix it," Lyra said. Together. The star hunters moved closer. Orin looked at his glowing hand. At Lyra's terrified but determined face. At the sky above, where the golden star trembled faintly. He took a deep breath. "Okay," he whispered. "I'll try." He stepped forward, raising his hand toward the star hunters. The symbol pulsed, sending a soft wave of light across the ground. The creatures hissed and recoiled slightly, but not enough to stop their advance. Orin squeezed his eyes shut, trying to concentrate. He reached deep inside himself into the warm place where he first felt the Skyborn's voice. "Please," he whispered. "Help me." The symbol flared suddenly, bursting with silver light that shot into the sky. The forest lit up like morning. The star hunters froze. Then a powerful voice echoed through the air, ancient, calm, and strong. "Enough." A pillar of golden light descended from the sky, striking the ground between Orin and the star hunters. The forest shook. And from the light, a figure formed. Tall. Radiant. Shaped like a human, but made of starlight and gold. Lyra clutched Orin's arm. "Is that?" Orin's breath caught. "Yes," he whispered. "The Skyborn." The star hunters stepped back, trembling. The Skyborn raised a glowing hand toward them. "You will not touch the boy." The star hunters hissed and vanished into the shadows of the forest, retreating as if pulled away by an unseen force. The forest grew quiet once more. The Skyborn turned toward Orin, its golden light soft and warm. "You saved me," the being said gently. "And now, I will protect you." Orin stared, speechless, as the Skyborn bowed its shining head toward him. Lyra whispered, "What happens now?" The Skyborn looked between the two siblings. "Now," it said, "your journey truly begins." The forest glowed softly as the Skyborn stood before Orin and Lyra, its golden light warming the cold air that the star hunters had left behind. For a moment, everything felt still, as if the universe itself was waiting. Orin took a small step forward, staring up at the radiant being. "Why did they want me?" he asked quietly. The Skyborn's glowing eyes softened. "Because you carry the mark of life. You changed what was meant to end. That kind of power is rare, and dangerous to those who live in shadows." Orin looked down at his hand. The symbol shimmered gently, no longer frightening, just a part of him. Lyra stood beside him and crossed her arms. "So what happens now? Are more of those things coming?" "Some will search," the Skyborn admitted. "But they will not reach you. Not as long as I remain awake." Orin frowned. "Awake?" The Skyborn nodded. "I was meant to fade, to return my energy to the universe. But your touch restored me. You gave me a new life, a second chance." Orin felt a soft warmth in his chest. "I'm glad you're alive." A gentle smile formed on the Skyborn's glowing features. "And I am glad you listened when no one else could." For a moment, the forest was silent again. Then the Skyborn knelt, lowering its great shining form to Orin's height. "Orin, you have rewritten a part of the sky. And in doing so, you have rewritten yourself." Orin blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means you have a choice," the Skyborn said. Orin's heart tightened. "A choice?" Orin stepped toward the Skyborn. "Will I ever come back?" he asked softly. The Skyborn placed a hand on his shoulder. "Nothing in the universe is permanent. But paths that cross once, often cross again." Orin nodded. He took the Skyborn's hand. A brilliant light surrounded them, lifting leaves, shifting the air, filling the universe with a gentle hum. Lyra shielded her eyes, watching as her brother's form shimmered like stardust. "Goodbye," Orin called out, his voice breaking. "Goodbye, Orin," Lyra cried. "Rewrite the stars in your way." The light rose higher, then burst upward, shooting into the sky like a falling star in reverse, streaking across the heavens. Lyra watched until the last spark faded. The golden star, the Skyborn, now shimmered brighter than ever, and beside it, a new star appeared. Small. Soft. Bright. Orin's star. A star rewritten by choice. A star that would travel galaxies, shape destinies, and someday, find its way back home. And in the quiet forest, Lyra whispered to the sky, "I'm proud of you, Orin."